Have you ever gotten a pay rise, looked at your bank account, and just wondered where it all went? You work hard, you get that bump in salary you've earned, but your take-home pay barely budges. If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are not alone. There's a hidden reason why millions of us across the UK are paying more tax without our pay actually going up in real terms. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and find out why. It's a really frustrating feeling, isn't it? You see that bigger number on your payslip, but the actual cash that lands in your account feels, well, pretty much the same. It's like you're running on a financial treadmill, working harder and harder just to stay in the exact same spot. Well, as we're about to see, there's a very specific, almost invisible reason this keeps happening. To really get to the bottom of this, we're turning to the people who live and breathe this stuff. This whole discussion has been developed by the tax experts over at My Tax Accountant. They've crunched the numbers and pinpointed the exact mechanism that's quietly taking a bigger and bigger slice of our paychecks. So thanks to them, we can all get a handle on what's truly going on. Okay, so let's dive right in. We're starting with what many people are calling a hidden tax. And the reason they call it that is because it's not some new tax rate that gets announced in the budget with big flashing headlines. Oh no, it's much cleverer than that. But it hits your wallet just as hard. The thing about this tax is that it operates in the background, totally under the radar. It just creeps up on you. That's why it's earned the nickname a stealth tax. You might not even notice the small change from one year to the next, but believe me, over a few years, the effect adds up and it can be absolutely massive. So what is this thing? Well, the official name is fiscal drag. Sounds a bit technical, right? But the idea is actually super simple. It goes like this. Your pay goes up, maybe to keep up with inflation, or you get a well-deserved promotion. But, and this is the absolute key, the tax bands, the income levels where you start paying a higher rate of tax, they stay exactly the same. They don't move. The result? You get literally dragged into a higher tax bracket, even though you aren't really any better off. Okay, so that's the big idea, but how does this actually play out with your payslip every month? Let's get into the nitty-gritty and break it down step by step. Right, it all happens in 3 simple moves. Step 1, your pay goes up. Fantastic news, right? But then, step 2, the government keeps the tax thresholds completely frozen. They don't budge. So, step 3, a bigger chunk of your salary now falls into a higher tax band. And just like that, you're paying more tax, not just on your pay rise, but on your overall earnings. And here it is in black and white. This is the reality for the 2025/26 tax year. Your personal allowance, the amount you can earn before paying a single penny of income tax, is frozen at £12,570. The higher rate threshold, where your tax rate jumps from 20% to 40%, is frozen at £50,270. See that word on the right? Frozen? That one word is the entire source of the problem. Now you might be thinking, okay, but this is probably just a temporary fix, right? Wrong. This isn't a short-term blip. It's a deliberate, long-term government policy, and it's designed to raise a truly staggering amount of money for the Treasury without ever having to say the words, "We're raising tax rates." This didn't just happen yesterday. The ball got rolling back in spring 2021 when Rishi Sunak first announced the freeze. Then, in autumn 2022, Jeremy Hunt kicked the can even further down the road, extending it all the way to April 2028. And just recently, Rachel Reeves confirmed that, yep, it's staying put until 2028. That's a 7-year freeze locked in. And what's the result of this 7-year lock-in? Well, the Office for Budget Responsibility, they're the UK's independent number crunchers, they estimate that by 2029/30, this policy will be pulling in an extra £38 billion for the government. And that's not a one-off, that's every single year, a huge sum all raised in silence. Okay, $38 billion is a mind-boggling number, but it's a bit abstract. So let's bring this down to earth. What does this actually mean for your wallet, for your savings, for your family? This is where it stops being about politics and starts getting personal. This chart tells a pretty shocking story. Just look at this. Back in 2020, about 4 million people in the UK paid the 40% higher rate of tax. Now look at the projection for 2025. That number is set to explode to nearly 7 million people. That is a massive jump. We're talking about millions of teachers, senior nurses, small business owners, all being dragged into a tax bracket once reserved for the very top earners. Let's make this even more real. Let's say you're a freelance designer in London and you're making £35,000. Because of fiscal drag, you're paying an extra £845 in tax every year. If you're on £50,000, that extra tax bill jumps to over £1,900. And if you hit £100,000, you're paying almost $2,500 extra. That's money that should be in your pocket, not the taxman's.
And this is exactly why financial experts like Stephanie Ebner are speaking out. Her point is that a tax policy that was supposed to target the very wealthy has morphed into a stealth tax on the middle class. It's hitting more and more ordinary people who would never consider themselves rich. Stay with me, the next point might surprise you.
Because there is one particular spot in the tax system where fiscal drag stops being a drag and becomes a sheer cliff edge. The whole system gets incredibly harsh once your income crosses the £100,000 mark. That's not all. Here's where most people go wrong because they just don't see this coming. You might want to sit down for this. For every pound you earn between £100,000 and £125,140, you are paying an effective tax rate of 60%. 60%. No, that's not a typo. Why? Because for every £2 you earn over $100K, the government takes away £1 of your tax-free personal allowance. So you're paying the 40% tax rate on your new earnings, and you're paying tax on income that used to be tax-free. It is a brutal double whammy. And here's a quick did you know for you. That £100,000 threshold that triggers this crazy 60% trap, it hasn't moved a single inch since 2010. For 15 years, it's been stuck right there. If that threshold had just kept up with average wage growth, do you know what it would be today? £163,000. Just think about how many people are getting caught in this trap who shouldn't be. Okay, I know that all sounds pretty bleak, but it's not all doom and gloom. Now that you understand how this works, you can start to plan around it. The good news is there are perfectly legal, smart financial moves you can make to fight back and lessen the sting of fiscal drag. Two of the best tools in your toolkit are pensions and ISAs. Putting more into your pension is a brilliant move because it reduces your taxable income right off the bat. That money comes out before the taxman sees it, which could be enough to keep you under a key threshold, like that £100,000 cliff edge. An ISA is different. You put in up to £20,000 a year, and any growth you make on that is completely tax-free forever. And here's a little pro tip for you. If your employer offers something called salary sacrifice for your pension, you should seriously look into it. It's a double win. You agree to a slightly lower official salary, and your employer puts that difference straight into your pension. Not only does this reduce your income tax, but because your salary is officially lower, it cuts your national insurance bill too. It's a win-win. Right, so we've looked at the problem, how it works, what it costs you, and, most importantly, what you can do about it. Let's pull all that together and recap the key things you need to remember to take back control of your finances. So, here are the big takeaways. Number 1, fiscal drag is a very real stealth tax that's eating away at your pay rises. 2, the tax thresholds are frozen solid until April 2028, and this is going to affect millions more of us. 3, watch out for that brutal 100K tax trap with its 60% rate. And finally, the most important takeaway of all, you are not powerless. Smart planning with pensions and ISAs can make a huge difference. Now, of course, it's really important to say that all the information we've discussed is for general guidance. Everybody's situation is different, so you shouldn't rely on this exclusively to make your financial decisions. And for that very reason, before you make any big moves, it is always a good idea to consult an expert. For personalized advice tailored to your specific circumstances on fiscal drag or any other tax issues, get in touch with the team at My Tax Accountant. You can give them a call on 0208 570 8531, or you can drop them an email at info@mytaxaccountant.co.uk. Thanks for joining us.